This morning, I saw a couple developments that I'm going to mention today. Silver dropped below $15 an ounce, and the Chinese stock market lost more than 10 times the GDP of Greece. China also invested heavily in Greece years ago. Greece is developing a close relationship with China and Russia. So what is happening geopolitically, and I think some of these things are by design. Some of these decisions being made by the prime minister in Greece, as well as the finance minister that recently resigned. I believe there's a lot of evil behind some of the figureheads that are in power today. There's also a book out there, Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. In fact, it's at the bookstore in this town that I happen to live in, and I'm considering adding it to the online store that I'm building, to the book section. But we see these two developments today. Silver, I think, dropped down to about 1480 or so, or maybe 1485. It's now back up. Last time I checked, about a half hour ago, it was around the 1480s. Now it's back up to around 1515. It dropped about a full dollar, though, because yesterday it was trading at about 1580, give or take. Gold, by the way, dropped $18. And so some say it's a good time to get on gold and silver, and I don't disagree with that. I think the question is how much further is it going to drop? There's a lot more evidence now that gold and silver prices have been artificially kept at a certain rate, while J.P. Morgan, China, and other special interests buy as much as they can. Meanwhile, the Chinese stock market has been regular news the last couple of months. The fact that it's been surging and other factors that have led to the surge. China taking a cue from the book of the Federal Reserve and loaning out more than what it has on reserve. But I'm not tracking it close up like perhaps I should, like what is specifically going on. But what it sounds like, what it feels like, is what kind of surge they've been doing. It's so astronomical. The level of quantitative easing that the Chinese government's involved in. So it's another bubble. It's not, the yuan is not real, even though the yuan could get a lot stronger in the near future. This is a very similar system. And in this global system, we have people all across the world that are trusting their governments, that are trusting their media, that are losing a lot of money in the stock market because they're listening to the wrong people that have their own special interests. Where you have government meeting corporation controlling the media. So there's a lot of spin out there. Meanwhile, we have Amazon's Prime Day coming up, which is a number of different things at once. Not to mention, Amazon being a giant shipping company, knocking out the competition. Some people are seeing this as competition with Alibaba. It is that on the front. And that is how it's been presented to the public. This is competition with Alibaba. But you'll notice, as I mentioned yesterday, the mainstream media keeps mentioning Alibaba. I didn't know what Alibaba was last year as a wholesale shipping company where you can talk directly to people that are probably living their lives as slaves in Chinese factories, and they want to get our sweet tooth going. Hey, would you like a sample? Here, let us send you this, and hey, if you want to buy 5, 10, 20, 100,000, you help us, we'll help you. There's only so much of this that can go on, this buying and trading of just goods and services imported from China. I mean, there still is a bubble that Americans are still profiting off of. I'm not being completely judgmental. We're saying that it's inherently wrong to buy and sell Chinese products. But right now what we're seeing with Amazon's Prime Day is coming at a time where we're seeing artificial low silver rates and an artificial high of the US dollar. When in reality the dollar is a lot lower, its real value, than what it's represented to be, and silver and gold is in actuality much more valuable than what it's represented to be. So there's some obvious weird stuff going on in the markets worldwide. So, artificial drop, strange drop of silver, at least $1, at a time when Ampex and JM Bullion and other websites this morning, because I went and tried to look myself, websites were down. Too many people on the site at once. Or someone else said in the comment section of the Silverbugs Facebook group, oh, that's real convenient. Well, I don't know if, someone's deliberately making sure the websites aren't working, but what we do know is that there's high demand. And that high demand, not just in the United States, but in China, there's a huge demand for silver and gold. It hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped. The other question is, how much gold is actually being dumped on the market? There's artificial fake silver out there in silver futures. We know that. And when that really comes about, like the derivatives bubble or something, like the mortgage thing, like if there's ever this thing with silver and the silver futures unraveling, yeah, that would be another factor that would cause silver to explode, maybe to the tune of hundreds of dollars per ounce. Maybe that could be a resetting event. Hey, where's the silver that you guys claim you have, and or gold? And in other news, Texas plans to try to get their gold and house it in the state of Texas. The person behind it, though, that's been appointed above it, said this isn't political, this is just strategic. Don't fall in the trap of assuming that Rick Perry is against the establishment. This would be an establishment move, being that Rick Perry is a Bilderberger and has been to the Bilderberg group. Not that they're at the top of the pyramid. They're just a part of it. But I'm just mentioning a couple things that are coming at, around the same time period. But I'm not on board with this mentality that everything's going to implode around September of 2015. We go through ups and downs, and we may be heading towards this World War III scenario and reset situation. But I don't believe that it's all culminating in the next couple of months. But I do think that we're going to see some major shifts with stocks, with other investments, with other announcements, with other geopolitical developments. But I don't believe all is going to, as they say, hell in a handbasket this September of 2015. In the 10 years that I've been involved in the alternative media and reading about economic collapse, and also reading about cycles to where they built up the market, then crash it, rob the people, then build it back up, the dump truck, back and forth, the cycles and highs and lows, that's not going away. That may go away at some point in some manufactured World War III scenario where there's lights out and it's army against army. They're not yet at that level. So for now, don't expect the highs and lows of the international cycles and stocks and trades and bonds and silver prices and futures. That's not going away anytime soon, short of a massive solar flare that disrupts the busybody world of mankind. So where are things going from here? I just want to make a video bringing up the fact that there are these things taking place, these huge moves. I've heard others say that there are currency traders involved in trading now where it's not a fraction of a percentage, but full percentage points, full points. Every day people are trading these currencies at these ridiculous amounts as we see massive shifts, artificial suppression of silver and gold. JP Morgan, it's already known that they've been involved in this in some time, but they're also stockpiling it. And we know that in addition to their own stockpile, other governments like China and India and others have their own stockpiles. Other questions come about: how much gold and silver is there really in the ground, being that this may not be something that there is a universal agreement on. And there could be the real amount, then the amount that we're told. Just taking a note from history in oil, how there's been this perception of peak oil, but in reality there's been this other truth of refineries capped so they can control the value of that oil. And so much has changed since even I acquired that knowledge with the world of oil today and global refinery capability and cost and supply and demand. Well, then we look at gold and silver. There may be another similar situation there with a larger amount of silver than that which we've been told about. And there's mining companies around the world, United States and China and Mexico. Do they have cooperative agreements? Their top silver companies on how much silver they're going to dump in the market? And are there a couple partnerships that possibly could be out there where they coordinate moves together in order to direct the market in certain ways? And you can do that when you control demand and you control supply. You can control the value of something. And in this New World Order, there sure is a lot of manipulation. So, hey, that's enough from me to you. Let me know your thoughts down below on what's happening with Greece, what's happening with the Chinese stock market, and you can also throw in Alibaba and their stock, as some people say this is the time to get in on the China train. It's time to go red and buy big and Alibaba. And so, you know, we have that conversation there, and concern that I have that Alibaba and Amazon are really two sides of the different coin, like Democrats and Republicans, like two different campaigns. Like, you want Pepsi or Coke, but behind Pepsi and Coke, you still have corn syrup. Behind Alibaba and behind Amazon, you still have Chinese slave product goods, corporations controlled by the Chinese Communist government, the CCP. And that which controls the CCP, now we're back to New World Order. So there's something to this, folks. And even if you're interested in investing in Bitcoin, don't get religious with the Bitcoin. I don't see much future in it. Its future really only exists within the realm of a digital world. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. This is a time, I would actually say, to invest in things. And even a manufactured artificial strong dollar, it still has purchasing power. So low silver, high dollar is good for certain things if you are involved in business at this time. You know, I believe in trying to live a moral lifestyle, so I don't believe in, you know, just buying wholesale from China, but I don't believe in being a fundamentalist, either religious-wise or supposedly spiritual. You know, I've seen dogmatic New Agers out there. I know what that's like. So I am not one to condemn someone to buy and sell that's involved in buying and selling products from China, because there are so many products from China in our society, and I don't have anything against the Chinese people. But what we're seeing with the Chinese government, with these Chinese corporations, and their involvement with that which controls Washington, D.C., or Barack Obama, or for that matter, George W. Bush, our previous U.S. president, there is a connection there at the top of the pyramid. Fortunately, there's a lot of ignorant people out there that don't see this manufactured shift of wealth from the West to the East. As Jim Rogers and many other economic analysts, Gerald Celente and others, sure, I have a lot of agreements with these guys. I don't see China as a lesser of two evils. It is, in fact, being positioned to lead the New World Order. By design, China did not get to where it is today without a little bit of help. So in this manufactured shift of wealth and power from the West to the East, as the Eastern Power Bloc and the BRICS and the AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. See, these are all other important headlines that are happening concurrent to what you're seeing with Alibaba's rise, and Amazon, and global domination of shipping, and you know, artificial high dollar, artificial low silver and gold. It's all connected. Let me know what your thoughts are on any of these subjects, including what you see happening geopolitically. There's also a closer relationship being built more and more between Japan and the United States, more war games taking place in the South China Sea. And this is another cycle. We see cycles of war games where people are being directed into these nationalistic boxes. I remember seeing quite a bit of it in 2007 with Odessa, when, you know, they had the situation with Odessa, the tensions between the United States and Russia, at least on the ground, while George Bush and Putin drank wine together at the same side of the table. Not too different than what is happening today. Anyway, I'm Alex Ansari signing off for July 7th, 2015.